There's a way to speak to a man that completely disarms him, awakens an uncontrollable desire within him, and makes him see you as an essential presence in his life. This isn't about cheap tricks or shallow manipulation, it's about understanding the deeper mechanisms of the male psyche, as explored by Carl Jung, to create a connection that goes far beyond the surface. When you understand the archetypes that shape a man's behavior, you become someone he simply can't ignore. He might not consciously realize what's happening, but he'll feel a magnetic pull towards you that he can't explain. Most women don't realize that men don't fall in love just because of looks or sweet words, they fall in love because of how you make them feel. Jung spoke of the power of the unconscious, and how certain stimuli awaken deep desires that even the man himself doesn't fully understand. When you use the right language, the right gestures, and the right energy, you awaken an instinct for connection that he can't resist. The secret lies in how you express yourself, in your presence, your tone, and the subtle yet powerful impact your words have on him. But here's the thing, most women make a fatal mistake without even realizing it. They think they need to impress him, convince him, or prove their worth. That's the fastest way to become just another face in the crowd. What truly makes a man addicted to you is mystery, unpredictability, and the emotional challenge you present. Jung explained that men are endlessly drawn to the unknown, to what they can't fully figure out. And that's exactly what you're about to learn, how to spark his desire in a way that makes him think about you obsessively. Picture a man who once seemed indifferent, suddenly hanging on to your every word, noticing every expression, every pause. He feels something different, something he can't quite explain. You're not chasing him, begging, or trying to win him over. Instead, he feels like he has to work to earn your attention. That's the secret of women who naturally captivate men, they speak in a way that keeps him emotionally hooked. It's in their tone, their intention, and the subtle magic of their words. If you want to understand exactly how to speak to him in a way that draws him in and keeps him connected to your presence, stay with me. I'll show you what triggers his deep desire without him even realizing it, and how to turn any conversation into an irresistible psychological game that keeps you on his mind constantly. The male psyche is shaped by invisible forces that he often doesn't even understand. Jung said we're governed by the collective unconscious, a deep field where archetypes manifest and guide our emotions, desires, and decisions. For men, one of the most powerful archetypes is the hero. He needs to feel like he's conquering something, facing a challenge, pursuing a goal. And here's what most women don't realize, if you give yourself completely from the start, without allowing him to go through the process of pursuit, you break that natural cycle in the male psyche. His interest fades because his mind hasn't been triggered to fight for you. But when you master the art of emotional communication and speak in a way that activates this archetype, something inside him awakens. He starts to feel like you're a mystery to be unraveled, something he needs to understand. This isn't about playing games, it's about truly understanding how the male mind works. Jung explained that the unconscious is activated by symbols and patterns. And the biggest mistake a woman can make is being too predictable. If he always knows what you're going to say, if there's never any surprise, his interest will fade, because there's no emotional stimulation to keep the connection alive. There's a subtle but incredibly powerful way to make a man feel intense desire for you, simply through the way you express yourself. It's about how you guide the conversation, how you use strategic pauses, how you play with your words, and most importantly, how you make him feel like there's always more to discover about you. When you speak with a warm, captivating tone and leave just enough mystery in the air, you trigger unconscious switches in his mind that bind him emotionally to your presence. The feeling that he never fully has you, that there's always something more, keeps his mind busy with thoughts of you, even when you're not around. And here's a crucial point, most women try to build emotional connection by asking too many questions about his life or showing too much interest. But in reality, what keeps a man truly hooked is the opposite. What truly captures him is the sense that he has to earn your attention and carve out his own space in your life. When you feel comfortable in your own presence, when you're not constantly trying to prove your worth, you tap into a primal desire that draws him closer. He starts to feel that he must win your time, your energy, and your intimacy. This puts you in control of the dynamic without having to say a word. And here comes the most powerful part, the exact way to speak that activates this instinct in him. I'll show you how small shifts in how you communicate can make him completely captivated by you, without even realizing why. Every word, every glance, every well-placed pause becomes a piece in the psychological puzzle you're about to master. A man's mind works differently from a woman's when it comes to attraction and desire. Jung described how men are deeply influenced by the anima, the unconscious image of the feminine that resides within their psyche. This archetype isn't built on physical traits or particular personalities, it's about a feeling the woman evokes in him. When a woman can embody this energy subtly and naturally, a man feels like he's found something rare and irreplaceable. He may not consciously understand what's happening, but emotionally he will be drawn to you in a way that feels inevitable. So how does this translate into the way you speak to him? The key is striking a balance between vulnerability and mystery. A common mistake women make is thinking that to create a connection, they need to open up completely, share everything about themselves, and lay all their cards on the table. But in reality, it's the opposite that activates a man's desire. When you speak in an intriguing way, leaving space for him to fill in the gaps, his mind enters a state of searching. He wants to know more, he wants to understand better. Who are you? That sense of incompleteness, that subtle emotional challenge, is what keeps him hooked. There's one crucial detail, though. This unpredictability can't be forced or feel like a contrived game. Jung said that the human psyche intuitively perceives truth, and any conscious attempt to manipulate will be detected at a deeper level. What truly works is cultivating a genuine sense of emotional self-sufficiency. When your communication conveys that you're a woman who is whole within herself, who has an interesting life independent of him, he feels a mix of admiration and desire. This sparks in him a need to be near you, not out of lack, but because your presence offers something he can't find elsewhere. Another powerful factor is your tone of voice and the rhythm of your speech. The way you say the words, the cadence, the strategic pauses, these all influence how a man responds to you. Jung spoke about the power of unconscious suggestion and how certain stimuli trigger emotional responses before the rational mind can even catch up. When you master the art of speaking with confidence yet also with gentleness, creating contrasts between moments of intensity and lightness, you influence the male psyche on a level he cannot resist. Now, here's where it gets more strategic, knowing how to use this communication to your advantage at key moments. There are certain phrases, certain conversational patterns that can make a man feel an overwhelming desire to be with you. These are subtle adjustments in the way you express yourself, but they have a profound effect on his unconscious mind. Men don't fall in love just because of what they see, they fall in love because of how they feel when they're around you. Jung explained that human minds are shaped by unconscious patterns that drive our emotions and behaviors. This means that for a man to feel a deep connection with you, he needs to associate your presence with strong, unforgettable emotions. And the best way to do this is through how you communicate. Your tone, your choice of words, even the pauses between them, all create an emotional impact that he can't ignore. The secret lies in balancing gentleness with strength, mystery with closeness, crafting a psychological dance that instinctively holds his attention. When you master this form of communication, the dynamic shifts entirely. Instead of being just another person in his life, you become a powerful emotional trigger. Men are naturally drawn to challenges, and this is reflected not only in their ambitions but also in their relationships. If everything becomes predictable, if there's no sense of discovery or novelty, their interest tends to fade. That's why one of the most effective ways to keep a man fascinated is by maintaining unpredictability in conversation. This doesn't mean being erratic or difficult to deal with, but rather knowing how to alternate between moments of closeness and subtle displays of independence. Jung spoke about the role of the unconscious in forming emotional bonds, and that's exactly what happens when you master this way of expressing yourself. Small details, like a pause before responding, a look that conveys more than words, or a tone of voice that carries both confidence and mystery, trigger emotional responses he can't control. He senses that there's something different about you, something that can't be explained logically. And that feeling is what makes him want to be near you, seek your attention, and view your presence as an essential part of his life. Another key element is the strategic use of vulnerability. Many women believe that hiding their emotions or projecting total independence is the key to keeping a man's interest. But in reality, genuine connection comes from striking a balance between mystery and openness. When you express emotions authentically, without exaggeration or seeking validation, you show him your depth. He sees not just a surface-level image but someone who feels, understands, and expresses herself genuinely. This creates a psychological bond far stronger than any conscious effort to please or impress. Once you understand how the male mind works, everything changes. Communication stops being a collection of isolated words and becomes a powerful tool to spark desire, admiration, and emotional connection. The way you make him feel becomes unforgettable, something he directly associates with you. And it's precisely that feeling that makes him keep coming back, wanting more, without fully understanding what draws him in so strongly. True influence over a man doesn't come from force or excessive efforts to please. It comes from the ability to tap into the deepest layers of his psyche without his conscious awareness. Jung explained that everyone carries within them primal images that shape how they see the world. When you authentically embody one of these images, you become someone he simply can't ignore. For men, one of the most compelling archetypes is the woman who both challenges and inspires. She's not the one begging for attention, she's the one whose presence naturally sparks desire and curiosity. This influence shows in the way you position yourself in relation to him. If you give yourself fully without him having to earn your attention, the dynamic becomes predictable and his interest wanes. But if your presence strikes a balance between accessibility and mystery, he feels a nearly instinctive drive to want more. This happens because the male mind equates effort with value. What he has to work for becomes far more meaningful to him than something given without any challenge. This doesn't mean putting up artificial barriers, it's about allowing him to continually feel the thrill of winning you over. Another essential aspect of communication that ignites desire is the rhythm of conversation. Jung believed that life's deepest meanings are not just in what is said, but also in what is suggested, and what's perceived between the lines. Similarly, the way you interact with a man creates impressions that go beyond words. If your words are too predictable, too direct, or too readily available, his mind loses interest because there's no mystery left to solve. But when you use well-placed pauses, when you allow small moments of tension to arise, and when you demonstrate that your attention isn't guaranteed, you trigger psychological cues that keep him thinking about you. Emotional intensity also plays a crucial role. Men may appear rational and objective on the surface, but their psyches are guided by deep emotions, whether they admit it or not. Jung identified the unconscious as the true ruler of our choices and desires. This means that how you make a man feel is far more important than the words you use. If your interactions create a dynamic emotional flow, alternating between lightness, intrigue, and depth, you become someone he associates with a unique experience. It's this emotional resonance that makes him feel that he needs your presence in his life. When you master these elements, your communication becomes irresistible. You don't need to chase his attention or strive to be noticed, because he'll naturally be drawn to you. You might try to resist rationally, but his unconscious mind will already be marked by your presence. This happens because the connection you create isn't just surface level, it's a blend of emotional and psychological stimuli that make him instinctively attracted to you without even understanding why. The real art of keeping a man hooked isn't just in what you say, it's in how he sees himself when he's around you. Jung taught that every individual projects parts of themselves onto others, and this projection defines the depth of human connections. In other words, a man doesn't just fall for a woman, he falls for the version of himself that emerges when he's in her presence. If being with you makes him feel stronger, more confident, and more admired, his psyche will naturally associate those positive emotions with you, creating an unconscious bond he can't ignore. This projection occurs on every level of interaction. The tone of your voice, the way you look at him, how you respond to his stories, all of these things subtly communicate how he should feel when he's with you. If you challenge him while also making him feel valued, you strike a rare balance that keeps him emotionally invested. The key is to never be predictable. Sometimes, a well-placed provocation is far more powerful than a straightforward compliment. A subtle look of doubt might make him want to prove something to you. This psychological dance isn't manipulation, it's a deep understanding of human nature. Jung also spoke about the concept of individuation, the process through which each person seeks to become the fullest version of themselves. Men are naturally drawn to women who challenge them to grow, who inspire them to become more than they already are. That's why one of the most powerful ways to keep a man's desire alive is by showing him that you have your own world, a rich and independent life. When he perceives that you don't need him, but that you choose to be with him, your presence becomes a privilege, not a given. This subtle shift in dynamic completely changes the way he sees you. The male unconscious is driven by a search for purpose and meaning, and any relationship that feels empty or repetitive will soon lose its strength. To keep a man interested, he needs to feel that the relationship with you is a journey, not a destination already reached. Small changes in how you communicate make a huge difference here. Instead of always answering him directly, sometimes a knowing smile or a brief pause before you speak is enough. By not giving him all the answers at once, you keep his mind engaged, always wanting more of you. The most powerful seduction isn't loud, it's quiet. It doesn't impose itself, it lingers in a way that's unforgettable. A man's mind isn't captured by predictability, it's captured by the emotional stimulus that keeps him constantly intrigued. When you understand this and put it into practice, you don't just hold a man's attention, you become a part of his psyche, someone he can't forget. The deepest connection that keeps a man hooked on you takes place in the unconscious, where logic gives way to emotions and instincts. Jung said that we're guided by our unconscious much more than we realize, and it's there that the archetypes reside, shaping our reactions to people in the world. When a man feels emotionally captivated by a woman, it's because something inside him recognizes her as essential, someone who triggers his most primal desires without him being able to explain why. This kind of attraction doesn't fade over time because it's not just about words, it's about feelings. The way you occupy a place in his life determines the level of desire and need he will feel for you. If he feels he can fully understand you, if everything is obvious and predictable, your presence becomes comfortable but not essential. When there's depth in you, an energy he can't fully figure out, he becomes emotionally entangled without even realizing it. This happens because the male mind is naturally drawn to challenges. Not challenges in the sense of intentional difficulty, but the ongoing sense of discovery. The woman who keeps a man interested over the years isn't the one who fits perfectly into what he expects, but the one who occasionally surprises him with a new aspect of her essence. Jung also spoke about the shadow, the unknown, unexplored side of the psyche. This concept is key to understanding how you can create an irresistible connection with a man. He doesn't just fall for what he sees in you, but for what he discovers about himself when he's around you. If your presence helps him connect with hidden parts of his personality, emotions he doesn't often express or desires he didn't know he had, you become a unique force in his life. This happens because, deep down, we all seek someone who helps us see ourselves in new, more profound ways. This dynamic intensifies when you understand the power of silence and absence. In a world where everything happens quickly and responses come in seconds, anticipation has become one of the greatest emotional triggers. When you're not always available, when there's a gap between meetings or messages, his mind fills that space with imagination and desire. He starts to wonder where you are, what you're doing, and without realizing it, your presence grows in his mind, even when you're not around. This isn't a game, it's human nature operating at its most profound level. True desire doesn't come from excess, it comes from strategic scarcity. A man becomes addicted to you not when he receives everything at once, but when he feels there's always something more to discover. When every conversation reveals a new detail, when every encounter uncovers a new facet of you, he realizes that being with you isn't a linear experience, it's a fascinating journey. And that feeling creates a bond he can't break, because the deepest desire of the human mind isn't possession, it's continuous discovery. Human desire is never static, it needs movement, stimulation, something to challenge and envelop it. Jung teaches us that true connection doesn't occur on the surface, it happens in the unconscious, where emotions, archetypes, and symbols weave together to create bonds that aren't easily broken. A man may forget words, he may forget gestures, but he will never forget the feeling a woman made him experience. And when that feeling activates mystery, admiration, and the drive to learn more, he inevitably becomes hooked on her presence. What we're discussing here isn't manipulation, it's understanding. Understanding how the male mind works and how unconscious patterns influence emotions is what separates those who simply pass through a man's life from those who become unforgettable. The secret lies in how you present yourself, the energy you project, and your ability to maintain a perfect balance between closeness and distance, vulnerability and mystery, intensity and lightness. This dynamic not only keeps his interest alive, it makes him see something in you that he's never found in anyone else. Now it's up to you to decide how you'll use this knowledge. Will you continue doing the same things, waiting for fate to bring the right man to you? Or will you start applying these principles and see how small shifts in your communication and approach can completely transform the way men respond to you? The answer lies within you, because as Jung taught, what we project outward is simply a reflection of what we carry inside. The more you understand and master this dynamic, the more naturally magnetic you become, without forcing anything at all. If this message resonates with you, if something inside you has awakened, don't keep it to yourself. Share your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if you've already noticed these dynamics in your life and what you plan to change going forward. I want to hear your perspective, because every experience adds to this journey of understanding the human mind. And of course, if you want to continue learning how to create deep, lasting connections, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and leave a like. This not only helps me bring you more content like this, but also keeps you one step ahead. At the end of the day, what truly captures and holds someone in our lives isn't appearances, empty words, or promises. It's the way we make them feel. And when you master this art, you don't just become unforgettable, you become indispensable.